Welcome back to another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
And Pizza Del Rey, our favorite pizza place in the state of Wisconsin, located in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
A work ethic, outworking the competition. Athletes put in extra reps, watch extra film, go the extra mile, understand that talent means nothing without hard work. And if you want to incorporate that into your life, business, and family, in business, hustle separates the average from the elite. In relationship, effort matters. Strong families are built through consistent time and care. The best workout, everyone, is that there's no shortcuts to success.
My takeaways with this are two things. One, that attitude always has to be there. You, as a young athlete, like my goal, and we've talked about this before, is that you always have to have that attitude that somebody else is out there trying to outwork you. Mm-hmm. No matter how much time you're putting in, no matter how much effort you're putting in, somebody else is trying to get to where you want to go. Somebody else is trying to take your spot. And then secondly is never make up tomorrow what you could get done today. I think I heard this just not too long ago, somebody saying, don't say, I'll just do 2 more sets tomorrow. If you're supposed to do it today, do it today.
Right.
Don't put off till tomorrow what you could get accomplished today. But that's what work ethic comes down to. It's that repetitive consistency. Like, we keep using the same words, but they all go together no matter what factor we're talking about, whether it's leadership, work ethic. It all goes in line, and a lot with work ethic is being consistent.
And I think we all know that one athlete that was just gifted and just amazing, growing up or whether it was in college, but they didn't have the work ethic.
Yep.
And they could have gone so much further. And maybe they were a good athlete, but they could have been just like a Hall of Fame football player in the NFL if they just would have had the freaking work ethic and just committed themselves to it. And literally, they were either lazy or just didn't have it in them, and it wasn't their passion. But we all have those people. You can make up for deficiencies in your life and in your physical being by hard work. You can also hamstring yourself because you are good and rest on your laurels and just think I'm going to be good, and then not work hard and be mediocre at best. It's kind of a humbling experience.
I mean, I think persistence, right? Wanting to be better. I think that's either in you. You can teach it, but you got to want it. I think of Buck Nystrom. It's one of my favorite. We had Buck Nystrom camp. I remember meeting him in 8th grade. I mean, this guy, he's wearing his Michigan State sweats. He's an old line coach. Where he originally started at North Dakota State. And think about the tenacity of this guy. He's probably 5'10", maybe 6 foot. And as a freshman, he was the captain of North Dakota State football team as a freshman. I mean, this guy can still, just with the passion that he'd coach, and he loved everyone, but he just, he's talking to you, he's spitting in your face because he's so excited. I mean, you're just, as a player, like, yeah, tell me more, okay, And I got to coach with him, and, just one of the genuine leaders that I've ever met. And, but he was the guy that, nowadays they would say you're undersized, right? And if you believe in what you can do, you don't doubt that. And he didn't doubt himself, right? And he inspired others to be great. And I think, Coach Steffenhagen, the guy was 5'9", right? Was he much taller than that? Mm-hmm. He was Minnesota. He was a Big Ten shot put champion. Mm-hmm. Think about that. Yeah. Going against guys 6'5", 6'6", and the guy just has the tenacity. And I can still remember how he chewed his gum. He's looking at you, But, man, he could, he pulled everybody in as a leader, and he saw the opportunity and the talent of everybody, and just he taught people how to work hard. Mm-hmm. And that's what a leader does, right? You see something special in somebody. And when you're talking about those guys, we all, I've seen a guy 6'9". I mean, the guy could dunk, just jacked. And all he wanted to do was shoot 3-pointers. You know what I mean? And if he would do any move, he could dunk over me. So I wouldn't let him anywhere close because I knew he was going to take threes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Think about that. A guy that's 6'9", that's all he wants to do. In his mind, he thinks he's a great basketball player shooting threes, but he forgets what he's good at.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're trying to, you know, teach a dog to fly, right, you're probably not going to be successful. So you got to be real, right? And your friends got to be real with you. Like, hey, you know, Kevin, I'm sorry, but if you think you're going to, you know, be as fast as a duck in the air, you know, you got something to you, right? All right, next, leadership under pressure, thriving in chaos. SEALs train in simulated chaos, gunfire, darkness, exhaustion, so they can stay calm when real pressure hits. Leaders who panic under pressure lose trust instantly. I think a lot of movies are, you know, based on that, where, you know, it always starts off and all of a sudden there's panic and, you know, or the elevator scene. All of a sudden the elevator, everything goes, the electric goes, and everybody's chaos. I think the sitcom The Office, you know, the infamous fire scene, right? Where, you know, they're doing the test, and this is a fire, you know, fire drill, you know, but everybody handles it different. And I've been in an elevator during a wedding. We got stuck in between floors, and it's funny. Everybody handles it. One's pregnant and she's hyperventilating. Then you got the person consoling her, you know, and then you got the frantic one. Kevin, try to rip open the elevator. I'm trying to rip it open. And I'll never forget, you know, I look back and then there's two brothers. They got a bag of Doritos. They're eating them back, right? You know, and then you got the bride who's crying because it's not the perfect wedding, you know, and it's just.
Someone's got to pee in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing. But back to, you know, on the flip side, this last fall, I was in a dog park, and it's just amazing, you know, the dynamics of a dog park, right? This lady, she's got this American bulldog, and the bulldog's not very friendly. It's not neutered. Probably shouldn't be in the dog park if you're not neutered. But anyway, we're all nice to her, and she said, "Yeah, bring your dog in. Well, our dogs will play with you, right?" Well, long story short, as our dogs are all mingling and, you know, doing aggressive stuff, all of a sudden this older gentleman walks in with this golden retriever, right? He barely gets 2 steps in, and this American bulldog goes to greet the retriever. You know, dog, and the guy ends up falling, right? And it didn't look, I mean, aggressive, but all of a sudden he's not moving. And now this is where panic kind of, you know, kicks in, and you're like, okay, rush over there. And he's just, I remember him looking at me, and he's, you know, I had a traumatic fall. This is what the gentleman tells me. And all of a sudden, 10 seconds later, he's in like a coma. And you're like, well, you know, I've been through, you know, first aid training, and so you grab him, you try to talk to him. And long story short, we had to call 911. And the gentleman, he came through a little bit, but being calm under pressure, everything we were talking about. And then there was a lady that was also kind of a nurse, and so she's talking to him. She knew him a little bit, but everybody worked together in the community to get him safe, and I hope he's fine. But those things, who would guess that you'd be calling 911 at a dog park?
Yeah.
Right?
I had one too, not recently, probably within the last year. Me and my wife were driving from Minnesota, and summer, and there's a handful of bikes, and me and my wife have Harleys. So I'm watching them, and we're going straight. They're about to get off on the thing. And out of the rear view mirror, I see one of the bikes didn't make the curve, and he went off the road, and he went in between 2 signs. There was like 2 standards, and he went, and it took him off the bike. So I say, pull over, and my wife pulls over. And I get out, and we were probably, at this point in time, probably 200 yards away, because it takes you a while to stop when you're doing 70 miles an hour. I get out, I walk over there, and everyone's freaking out and screaming. And again, I've had training in this. So he's trying to get up. His buddy's trying to pull him up. I'm like, hey, leave him down. I walk over there. I'm like, hey. And so he's still conscious. And I'm like, you need to lay down. I said, do me a favor, just lay down. And again, everyone's freaking out, calling. I'm like, hey, can you hear me? He's like, yeah. I'm like, just lay down. So I said, I need you to lay down, and I'm going to hold your neck, okay, because I don't know what kind of damage you have, et cetera. And then I'm sitting there, so I'm holding his neck, and I'm talking to his buddy. He's like, hey, can you? Everyone else is freaking out. I just walked over there like it was cool as a cucumber. I'm talking to the guy. I pull his visor up so I can see him. Is he bleeding? As I'm talking to him, I'm checking to make sure he's not bleeding out in other places, making sure there's nothing oozing out of him. But yeah, and then the EMS showed up, and it was just told him how old he was, basically what I saw, and was able to at least give him that information in just a calm, concise manner where everyone else was just losing their shit. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's pretty traumatic. I saw it too, but at the end of the day,
somebody's got to be calm in the situation.
At the end of the day, me freaking out and being all pissed off and panicky isn't going to help the situation, So the guys on the phone freaking out, trying to call 911. I'm like, I need you to repeat what I'm saying. Take a deep breath, and I'm telling him what to tell dispatch or EMS. Just say it verbatim. I'll slow down, and in the meantime, keeping this guy somewhat comfortable. Eventually, the ambulance came and took him away, and I walked away and gave him my statement. But it was like one of those things where, because I've seen it before, because I've done it before, it's just maintaining that kind of calmness in chaos.
And I think that leads in. Great leaders don't just perform under pressure; they elevate others.
Right.
I think that's a perfect example of, being calm. You did your training over and over, and when the time came, you elevated others around you to hopefully save an individual.
But it's because I had training, and that's where I relied on my training and my experiences, and it just becomes. And I think the more you can expose yourself to things, if you're in like law enforcement or whether you're in a business, exposing yourself to these things and playing the what if games, in your mind and how you're going to respond helps out tremendously. I mean, I do that frequently. And in law enforcement, on my way to work, I would say, okay, if this happens, what am I going to do? And I would replay those scenarios. I did the same thing in football. On this defense, on this play, who's my responsibility? What if he does this? I mean, I would do that all the time, So, and even now, I still do that in my normal day-to-day life. The what if game, I play it all the time. Yeah. When I drive home tonight, I'll probably play the what if game, because that's how I occupy my brain.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, risk analysis we haven't talked about, but as an organization, you should, have a meeting and discuss, well, what if this happens, right? And how does that affect us, right? What if this happens to our family? If somebody gets laid off, or if both of us get laid off? I mean, having that plan is very important, right? Great leaders like quarterbacks who lead the game-winning drive. They have confidence. A police officer responding in a situation, that's confidence. A firefighter giving all to save whoever's in a house. Thank you for your service, right? I mean, those are you either have it or you don't. And thank goodness there's so many people that have that inner drive to want to help others, right?
But like Joe said too, like having that confidence, like one of the top lines, calm breeds calm. Like for that leader being calm in that situation, being confident, it calms everybody else down. Like I got to witness it on the football side of it, having the opportunity to play with a quarterback like Brett Favre. You'd be in a game, you could be down 17 with a minute 50 on the clock in the fourth quarter, and you have the attitude you're going to win the game. Yep. Just because that's the attitude he's got. Nobody's nervous. Nobody's rushing anything. Nobody's like, what's the play going to be or this or that or what are we going to do? He's just like, no, we're going out and we're playing. We're going to get it. With a guy like Brett, like half the time he did, the other half maybe he didn't, but he had that confidence and that calming in the huddle.
I think, in the family, a father setting the tone. I think one of the true compliments, my kids, they like to stay calm. They've just been good kids. And I think as some of the most priceless conversations are people saying, well, how are your kids so calm? And how are you still calm? It's like, I think through sports, we've seen our ups and downs, but, number one, you got to be thankful that you have kids. There's so many people that don't have kids. Right. And, no matter what they do, I don't care if they're the star of the team or they're trying to get on a team. Like Joe talked about it and you talk about it. Sports means so much. Just being part of that crowd, that group that wants to be better, so important. And sometimes I've seen the kids that are winning all the awards are the worst sportsmen. And it makes me sick, really. They don't shake hands or, they're just, it's always the referee's fault. Right. And I wish there was, the sportsmanship awards. I wish that was out there more. Right. And then as a father, hey, there is going to be mistakes. And that's that true love of, hey, I know this happened. I know you feel bad, but did you learn from it? Right. And a lot of times the people that aren't successful, they're stuck in that continuous rut. They're just not getting out. Like they just keep over and over recycling what they're doing wrong. And as a parent, you just gotta, you gotta help guide them. I'm under pressure with your family and teaching your kids what's right and wrong. I think that's important. Same thing in business, setting those, here's our processes. It's so important to review the current processes, the current language of an organization, in your obviously risk analysis of hey, when there's a fire drill, this is where we all meet. And now you have a lot with insurance and stuff. You have intruder response drills or active shooter, right? Who would have guessed that 25 years ago,
Right.
30 years ago? But
Sure.
as an organization, you should talk about that. And obviously with adaptability, adjusting to change and challenges, adjust to different game plans, injuries, and opponents. Stay focused when things don't go as expected. In life and business adaptability means surviving and thriving in changing industries. In family, it means learning to adjust as kids grow, relationships evolve, and life throws you curveballs. Lesson being flexibility plus resilience equals long-term success.
I think the one thing that I learned that I use to this day is it's sniper school, and it's called we call it autogenic breathing, but it's also referred to as box breathing. That's where you inhale through your nose for 4, hold your breath for 4, exhale for 4 through your mouth. I learned that in sniper school 20 years ago, and I use that and implement that in my everyday life. I do it hundreds of times a day, and it's one of those things where your body automatically will control itself. It will calm down your breathing. It will calm down your heart rate. But I do that over and over again. I've done it during this podcast, honestly, because it's become so much ingrained into my everyday life that I have relied on that tool for the last 20 years. And the minute I learned it, I adapted it into my everyday life. And when my day's not going well, the coffee shop's not going well, employee calls in sick, whatever life throws at me, you will, and I do it so much, I do it subconsciously now. Just inhale through your nose for 4, hold for 4, exhale through your breath. Your body and your blood pressure will automatically come down. So take that for what it's worth. It works every freaking time.
Really?
And if it doesn't work the first one, keep doing it, and it will eventually lower you down to normal when you're calm.
And I think the big thing with this section, it's leadership under pressure. I think having that understanding that there is always going to be chaos, change, adversity throughout life. We all have probably had multiple plans that didn't go the way we planned, or there was an adjustment made or a curveball thrown. That's always going to happen. It's how are you going to react to it? Are you going to be prepared to react to it? And what decisions are you going to make when reacting to that decision?
And I think, along with the breathing is while you're breathing, sometimes if you don't have good things to say, maybe sometimes you have to swallow what you're saying. You think that you want to say in the moment, and maybe come back and say, hey, I need a break here, and come back later. And do you mind if we take a break and come back and deal with this situation? I need to get some fresh air. It's okay to do that. A lot of times you see it, words, saying the wrong words in the heat of the moment can ruin relationships. Because you can never take those words back.
Correct. And they say that the tongue is the strongest muscle in the body, and it's for that reason, because what you say and how you present it to people has a lasting impact, and again, something I struggle with and something that I'm trying to correct, and I work on it frequently. I still have that hair trigger temper of mine, and try to keep that son of a bitch at bay. Sometimes it's more difficult than I thought.
Those positive people out there, thank you for all those positive people that just, when you see them at the grocery store, they'll be like, hey, Bill, how are you doing? How's the family? Are you okay? And they ask you. I think those people out in the world that are those walking angels, thank you to who you are, and stay positive and keep that empathetic way of life and that happiness, because that spreads joy. In a sometimes dark world, and your positive shines like rainbows. So thank you to all those positive people.
Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin. Hey folks, we are a roastery. We buy our beans green from all over the world and roast right here on site. It's better than the stale, burnt, brown flavor water that you're used to. So stop on by.
Well, next up we have the power of the team. No lone wolves. The Navy SEAL principle is 2 is 1 and 1 is none. SEALs never operate alone. Navy SEAL teams win battles. Teams win battles, not individuals. A lone wolf is a dead wolf. Trust and communication are everything. My takeaway on that top part is the no lone wolf. Win as a team, lose as a team. When we got taught that early on with sports. When you win, it's because of everybody. When you lose, there's no pointing the finger, no singling somebody out. You win as a team, you lose as a team. Mm-hmm. The football comparison: the best teams don't just have great players; they have great chemistry and leadership. One of the examples of these championship teams have players policing the locker room, not just coaches. Captains who keep everybody accountable, not just themselves. The team mentality, no lone wolves. Athletes understand that no one wins alone. Trust, communication, and sacrifice for the team. In your life, business, and family. In business, success comes from building strong teams and partnerships. In family, life isn't about individual success. It's about growing together. The lesson with this: lone wolves don't last. Success is a team sport. In some of the real life applications in business, the best companies have strong team culture. Family and marriage, leadership isn't about dominating, it is about serving and building together. And then looking at today's culture promotes me over we, and why that could be dangerous. It goes back to you have to win as a team and you lose as a team. It's about that team mentality, and like Kevin was saying earlier about the sportsmanship and how some certain youth athletes carry themselves and their parents allow them to do it and their coaches allow them to do it. Those are the ones that have issues in marriage later on in life. Those are the ones that have issues working as a team in business later on in life, as opposed to maybe it's the second string guy or the offensive lineman that doesn't get a lot of credit that has success in team atmosphere because they know you have to work together as a team to win. And when you lose, everybody loses. It's not just putting the fingers.
And I think the biggest thing I take out of there is service. Again, that service word is in there. And you have to be serving other people in order for you to achieve your common goal. And it's super important.
I think one of the, when I look back to one of my biggest lessons in life is from my dad. Is my freshman year we had this birthday party, and somehow the parents had some liquor downstairs in their downstairs bar, like almost every family did back in the 90s. And long story short, I had some liquor and Polish brandy, right? And that was kind of a Wisconsin thing. But long story short, get called into the principal's office, and Kevin, did you drink? Well, I'm an honest guy. Yeah, sure. I had a couple, and so long story short, I got suspended for 6 games for freshman basketball. And I remember, thinking about this, rehearsing in my mind when I was going to talk to my dad. And, I'm thinking my dad's going to be really mad, because I'm missing 6 games. And, I was sweating. And I remember where exact chair I was sitting in the kitchen table, and he comes in because he was working second shift. And I tell him, hey, Dad, I made a bad mistake, drinking at a party. And long story short, I'm suspended 6 games. And he looked at me and he goes, I don't care. It's your career. Just that simple, though. That response right there, and I was letting down my teammates, and that was one of the best lessons I've ever had. Think about that. It's your career, and sometimes you got to think about it. It's your life. It's you're the one making those decisions, and if you don't like it, you have to correct it, right? Mm-hmm. So, part of that helped me lead, by wanting to be better, and I think that's it came up to how me and Joe really became really best friends was in the weight room, right? We both had pretty high egos, and we who's going to be the so-called alpha male or whatever, but I think we both were, maybe even me, I was being a jerk, right? And we both stood up to each other, and 5 minutes later we're laughing and hugging, and brothers, best friends since, and you got to surround yourselves with people that want to be better. Yes. Thank God I met Joe, because I'm not sure where I'd be, right?
Thank you for listening to another episode of 217 South Mills.
If you like what you heard, smash the like and follow buttons on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and X.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Cabin Coffee Altoona. Tune in next time, folks.